Are you ready to unblock your intuition and return on your miracle-making self? My name's Sonia Choquette. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, I'm so happy you're here. Your intuition can't be that blocked because you're here. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to really clear that noise out and tune into that very clear, guided self. And if you've been with me, welcome back. We are developing such a fabulous community of consciousness, and we are going to focus for the next little while on activating our miracle-making self and clearing your intuitive blocks, because that is the inner guidance. Your intuition is your miracle-making self. Okay, so first of all, we have to activate this heart chakra. This is our home. And a lot of people have heard, get into your heart, go to your heart. And it's very annoying to the ego in you that feels stressed, threatened, unloved, mistreated, betrayed. It's like, I'm not going there. I'm not going to put myself in a vulnerable position. And yet we have to understand that when you go to your heart, you're actually pulling yourself out of all that vulnerable, or I would say wounded and really traumatized energy. So coming to this heart center, the very first thing you need to understand is it is our first brain. Our heart is where our spirit enters the body and makes our heart beat. You know, science doesn't understand even now what actually causes the heart to beat. But sages, mystics, spiritual teachers, my spiritual teachers always said that is the point where your spirit, your divine essence, your inner being, your divine self enters the body, and the rest comes to life. So to get into your heart center is to go back home, to get into the place where there is no noise. This all up here in the head. Now, the reason you can't hear your intuition or why it's blocked, you're trying to find it in your logic brain. You're trying to find it in your outer senses. You're not going to have any luck. First of all, a truism about inner guidance is that it often, quite often actually, pretty regularly, gives you guidance that defies logic, that actually flies in the face of logic, and your logic brain will really argue back. So we have to recognize that the self that gives us guidance has a better vantage point than the ego self that's in the trenches and can only see and sense and understand things so far and so much. So sometimes I like to say your ego sense, your outer senses, your ego, your five senses, are like being in an old rickety truck on a very crowded highway and with soggy low tires. It's not even full tires. So you're blocked. You're just inching forward and it looks like you're really outnumbered. Whereas if you are in your intuition, you're in your inner being, it transcends the third dimension. And it's like the eagle eye looking from above and seeing everything that your ego self simply cannot see. I remember once when I lived in Chicago years ago, there's a very famous building there called the John Hancock Tower. And I was invited to go there to meet a client, actually, for the first time. I was very young, and I remember driving my old ratty Volkswagen, and I was supposed to be there at 6. It was rush hour. The road to their Lakeshore Drive was bumper to bumper, and I was just inching along and in so much stress and anxiety that I was going to be late. And he was so impressed with this client being up in the tower and just really rattled and feeling like I just couldn't control the situation. My heart was beating. I was honking the horn. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to mess up. And who knows? I was just immaturity at that point that I was in so much trauma. But when I actually got there, my client was just relaxed and at ease. She invited me in. I took the elevator up to some ungodly high number. I don't know, some 50th floor or something. I don't even remember, but I'd never been that high in my life. And I remember walking out and seeing this whole panorama of windows, and all of a sudden, I could see everything. I could see where it was blocked. I could see where it was flowing. I could see the state next door. I could see the weather coming in. I could see kids playing. I could see everything. And I instantly thought, that is the vantage point and the viewpoint of your inner guidance. So your ego self and your five sensory self is arguing, going, no, it's crowded and blocked and we can't go there. And you're logically trying to figure it out because you just don't have the information. But when you go to your God self, you go to your divine heart self, your inner being, your spirit. You rise above all that and you start to become aware energetically of the openings, where things are open, where things can come to you, where you can navigate freely. And it's such a download that it doesn't go through your logic. You just know. Just like I'm looking out that window, I just know there's the traffic, there's the opportunity, there's the storm coming, there's the sunshine. Not figuring anything out. I just see it. I just get it. That's how intuition works. So to be blocked, you have to realize that anything in your ego self, whether it's your own ego arguing or all the feedback you got from others when you were in your God self, you did see things and those people in their logic brain said, you're crazy and you're woo-woo and I don't believe in that and how ridiculous and you're not real, you're not safe and all kinds of crazy. You can transcend that by just saying they're just in the traffic jam. And all they're saying to me is that I have to stay in the traffic jam with them when in fact I'm already out of it. So you can go back and have those arguments or just say, they don't get it. They just don't get it, but I do. And rather than needing to convince them, I'm just going to be in my expanded awareness. So starting with the first block, it's natural. My God self, my miracle-making self, which is how my teachers taught me to see your heart and view and experience the self in you, because it's a miracle that your heart beats. Science can't explain it. They try to explain a lot, and I will give them credit. They are catching up. But this miracle-making divine self just gets it, just knows. Sometimes you'll have a vision. You'll just see it like from this higher vantage point energetically. You'll sense it, like you sense there's the storm, there's the sunshine. You just sense there's the opportunity, there's the block, and you cannot necessarily put it into words. Now, one of the things that trips us up about being connected to our miracle-making divine self, because that's what your intuition is. One thing that blocks us is our own language, because we use the word feel. And when in fact, we're not feeling in terms of like emotions. We're sensing energy and becoming aware, energetically informed. Just like when I walked into that apartment at that point in time and I was all worked up and emotional and scared and insecure. The minute I looked out that window, bam, I came to another sense, a miracle-making place in me. I instantly got that in that lower entrenched point of view, I'll never feel good. Never. Because what my physical immediate senses conveys is that I'm out of luck. I'm controlled by what I cannot influence. But when I get to that divine self, this miracle-making inner knowing self, I'm not in that at all. I can perceive more than meets my physical eyes and my physical senses. So that's the first block, is like, I got to change the channel. My ego self will never be intuitive. And if I'm going to say what blocks me is that other people's ego self told me I can't pay attention, well, that just doesn't make sense anymore. Even science, even for all of those who dismissed intuition, and I know I got plenty of it. I was called woo-woo and weirdo, and I was even in a book signing once where people were going, "You're the she-devil." I mean, honest to God, talk about crazy town ignorance. I learned something that my teachers called snake medicine. It's like, I've been bitten so many times by negative feedback and disapproval. I'm immune. But now you cannot let approval of everybody stuck in the traffic jam be what guides your life. You can't. You're dooming yourself. You got to rise up and know that my inner senses automatically turn on when I come back to my heart and I quiet the noise. So to that end, the next thing to do is first you accept it's my divine God self, my inner being. That is my intuition. By the way, it means inner teacher, inner guide. And that it has a vantage point my ego self will never have. And it makes logical sense to listen, to pay attention. And I'm not listening to an emotion. I am following a vibration. I am following an energetic guidance that I had to get up in that elevator and rise above the drama to see. So that metaphor is, how do we get in our inner elevator to rise above? First thing is, give yourself a few minutes a day to just stop the input. Stop the flood of third dimension traffic jam and honking horns and fighting, struggle and drama and noise. So that means stop the scrolling, stop the news, stop the overload, and at least for 30 minutes a day. And if you've got the nervous addiction that you've got to go to your phone, put on music. And ideally, classical Baroque music, because that puts your heartbeat, which is your sacred home, into the most harmonious energy. It kind of opens the doors to the heart. So you can just go to like iTunes or Spotify or whatever and put Baroque, Baroque, Mozart, Vivaldi, Telemann, Bach, and you just listen to that noise, and it literally opens the gates of your miracle-making divine self, your inner self, your intuition. Just, stop the noise. How are you going to get in the elevator and go up if you're in a honking traffic jam of people screaming and yelling, "Fire, we're in trouble, get out of here, we're stuck, we're trapped," which is pretty much what we're hearing in the third dimension traffic jam. So really carrying this metaphor to the end here, let's take a moment to rise above by stopping the noise. Like, get out of the traffic jam, walk away. You have the power to do that. And then know the self that gives your heart the power to beat and is the first brain, way before the physical brain takes over, is the heart brain. This is your power center. So you can just calm your heart. And one of the ways to do that is, before you ask for guidance, just focus on your breath. There's a wonderful breath. You can breathe into the count of 4, hold to the count of 4, and then exhale to the count of 8 with one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly. And regulate and get connected to the heart. Get connected to the heart. Really powerful way. Just a few minutes, 10, 12 of those breaths will get you out of the noise. And then you have to recognize that the traffic jam self in you is the one that's fearful, the one that feels trapped by way more than you can control or influence. So you want to see yourself as rising above and getting back to the inner being spirit of you, which is not trapped. Without, I'm going to just leave that, just leave it. I'm not going to try to figure my way out of it. I'm just going to walk away. And I'm going to get to a higher vantage point before I make my decisions. And one of those decisions, by the way, might just be relax. Things will sort out. This traffic jam might be temporary. There might be an accident. There might be some drama that's temporary. So stop fighting the jam. That's another thing that will help you get back in touch with your intuition. So let's figure A, you come back to your body, this God self. This is home base. B, we have to rise above the noise, and let's just stop even that my mom and dad said I was crazy, so I can't listen. It's like, they were in the traffic jam. You're going to listen to them? It's all they could see. Let's forget that. we can rise above. We have a divine self, and it is activating in all of us so fast because we need it. We need it now. Seems like every which way we go is traffic jam, gridlock of drama and nightmares. So then you have to say for 30 minutes a day, minimum, I'm going to be in a drama-free zone, because all that drama is addictive. It is. It's an addiction. So you have to start weaning yourself off of it. Drama-free zone. Go to quiet or go to music and go to breath. Works. You don't have 30 minutes, have 10. But if you have none, you're going to stay in the traffic jam, and then you're going to never get your intuition to guide you, and you're just going to be chewed up by the stress. So you do have a choice. Next, calm the brain, calm down. Calm down and get out of the gridlock and nightmare and drama and battling to get ahead and out of the trouble, which is that third dimension. And then as you come back, ask your spirit, your miracle-making spirit, inner being, what do I really want to experience? What am I yearning to experience? And start tuning in. Use your senses, your outer senses can help your intuition by describing what you want to experience. Is there a location? Do you want to experience something more natural? Do you want to experience something more comfortable? Because this gives your inner guidance, your inner being information and how it's to guide you. I want to experience space. I want to experience security under my feet. I want to experience feeling financially really supported, and I want to experience being safe. I really want to experience being creative. I want to experience being connected to people who really get me and who I enjoy. Just start naming, and you can be generic initially, but you have to give your inner being some guidelines to what it can guide you toward, because you're here as a creator. This is creation school, and you are here to create. So we've lost touch with what we want to create, and so many of us are just now, all I want to do is survive. Like your nose is above water this much. Now, I had a client who was in massive free fall survival and freaking out. Bad divorce, bankrupt. She was 58, bankrupt, was diagnosed, talk about a pile-on in the traffic jam. She was diagnosed with cancer, but it was early stages of breast cancer, like stage 1. So it wasn't like 5 fire alarm, but big enough. And just angry and upset, and why I'm angry, this is awful, and the world's going to hell, and I just want to die. It's like, okay, I hear you. I've been there, actually. Well, maybe not quite that bad, but I've been in a very bleak, broken state. So we need to know that's what it feels like to be in the traffic jam. So you have to recognize you can remove yourself. Little tiny steps. Step 1, stop fighting the emotions and just say that those are my catalysts to come to back home. It's back to my heart brain, which can rise above all of this and see solutions. Then I'm going to leave it. I'm going to quit jamming myself in further by fighting it. I'm just going to surrender, let go. Now, letting go is an intelligent decision. Instead of pushing forward, jamming in a gridlock, I'm going to just step out of this internal physical self, and I'm going to come back to my heart. It's like getting out of the car in the traffic jam. And I am going to go and sit in a quiet space. Imagine if you're sitting in a park, do if you can, but come back and put your hands on your heart and your hand on your belly. Belly says, I'm safe right now in this moment. Heart says, I am here. I am your spirit. I am your inner guide. And just practice getting out of the noise, out of the emotional reaction to the gridlock and being trapped. That's all third dimension. Don't fight it. Just say, I'm going to come back to my spirit and take a break from it. Just going to take a break from it. Breathing into the count of 4, holding to the count of 4, exhaling to the count of 8 will regulate that anxiety brain. And then just focus on, to the degree that you can, because it might not come too easily at first, but it will work. Just starting to describe what you would love instead. Don't try to figure it out. Just what is the experience that I would love instead? My client said, I just want to relax. I just want to relax. I want to be able to be in a place that's not constantly battling in survival. So what happened to her is she ended up she got the inspiration from her inner being to go to a equine experience, which is to go work in a spa where you work with horses, and I had no affinity with horses, but I went. And when I went to that horse experience at the spa and I worked with the horse, I became very aware of how I gravitate toward drama and how I gravitate toward people who cause drama. I became very aware that when I calmed down, then I could actually influence the horse, but my drama, that horse wouldn't move. That's kind of how my whole life was going. And she said, then I got the idea to train in this particular type of work because it was so incredibly moving for me. And up until 3 months ago, I didn't even know it existed. And now I'm training for it. I quit my job. I'm living very simply in a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm learning about this equine experience. I moved to another state. And now she said, you know what? I don't have a lot of attachment to the material. I live very simply, but I am so peaceful and I'm in purpose. I'm learning about me and how I can help other people. What a miracle. That's what she got when she got quiet. Your inner self will give your intuition. Your inner teacher will give you information that defies logic. You need to be prepared for that. So your logic brain is the traffic jam going, what are you saying? Get out of the car and walk away. I can't, but you can. Or pause. And it'll break up and you'll see your way forward. So those are my lessons for today. We're going to be on this for a while. We need our inner guidance now. We need to connect to that part of us. It is essential that we get out of the gridlock, noise, traffic jam, trapped, fighting, embattled, no way out, 3rd dimension perception of things. And go to the 5th dimension, just like getting up in that elevator, getting a higher vantage point. Your inner being is waiting there for you, and it'll show you the way forward without drama. So my biggest advice is drama-free zone for 30 minutes a day. Quiet, unplug from the input, manage the input, it's too much input, listen to music and start tuning into and verbalizing what your heart is asking for. And then your inner teacher and your inner guidance will lead you there. So if you've enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. Better yet, please subscribe because we are in a whole process of learning how to connect to our miracle-making divine inner guidance. That is absolutely what all this drama is encouraging us to finally do, to say, I've had it, I'm going to a new direction, I'm going to change the channel. It is that simple. And I'll see you next week. But before I go, please leave your comments, including what you experienced with this change and also what your challenges are, because I would like to address them and give you very practical guidance. If you actually do what I'm suggesting, you will hear your inner self because it's the self that makes your heart beat. So as long as your heart is beating, it's right there. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. All my love.